Council members Hussein and Cost. Thank you. It is 8:30, and I would like to call this meeting of the Lansing City Council to order on Monday, January 26th, and ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
There are 8 members present, a quorum, and we are to the meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Is there anyone wishing to recognize someone during our moment of meditation? Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Yes, so I want us to remember Alex Pretty. This is unfortunately the second time at meetings where I've had to, bring up folks who were killed, unfortunately, by federal agents supported by our federal government. And I want to make sure that we don't, normalize this, and that we continue to remember this person who was a very dedicated ICU nurse who took care of our veterans, which is incredibly important. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Thank you. I'd just like for us to remember that this community lost a 4-year-old child to gun violence this past week, and I would like to keep that child and their family and close friends in our thoughts and prayers this evening. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, I'd like folks to remember my goodness, the family, the friends, the students, the athletes that were coached by, the list goes on and on. Monica Jones passed on January 18th, unfortunately, as a result of a vehicular accident. She, in her far too short in terms of lifespan, impacted many in big ways. She was a long-term educator with the Waverly School District, and then also had a number of other hats that she wore in our community while she was here. Did spend some time in Montana prior to her death before moving back to Michigan, and really epitomizing, I think, who she is as a person, spending her last days being a caretaker for a family member up in the Traverse City area. But again, a lot of people impacted negatively by that loss. And so if we could keep those folks in our thoughts and prayers, particularly her son Cristiano and grandson Xander. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those rise, please.
You have for approval the printed council proceedings of January 12th.
Vice President Pelivanoglu.
I move the printed council proceedings for January 12th, 2026 as presented.
There's proper motion. All those, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And we are to the consideration of late items.
Vice President Pelivanoglu.
Thank you. I move that we entertain a late item resolution addressing immigration enforcement within the city of Lansing.
Right. So the motion would be to suspend Rule 9.
And I move for the suspension of Council Rule Number 9. It is needed to allow consideration of a late item.
Correct. And for those of you new to the dais, we will, if the rules are suspended, then later on we will discuss the agenda item. But this is just the question before us is the suspension of the rules. So all those in favor of suspending Rule 9, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, our special ceremony is canceled for this evening, so we are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Are there any council members wishing to deliver comments? Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Yes, so I wanted to make sure people knew that that we have the Ward 2 constituent meeting coming up on Thursday the 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. and it is going to be at the new election center on Jolly. And we are going to have folks from Deep Green coming in to talk to us about their proposal. And also Director Kim Coleman will be there from HRCS to talk about the NOVA Housing Initiative, which are the Mod Pods. And so we're hoping to get a good turnout, and so hope everyone can make it there. I also wanted to mention that earlier today I was sent a video that had an unhoused neighbor of ours getting arrested by LPD. I have sent that video and an email to Chief Bacchus and the mayor and asked for a review of the situation. I understand that maybe the person was not supposed to be at the bus station where they were, but I find it concerning that with how cold it was outside, that could happen, and so hopefully we can figure out what happened. It would have been a lot better for the person to be taken to a warming center or something, and maybe wasn't a possibility. I completely understand that law enforcement has a really hard job, but I'd like to know hopefully what actually happened. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Councilmember Cost.
Yeah, just quickly, two things. One, I will piggyback. I saw the same video today, and I did text message the chief. He did open an investigation into the situation to find out what transpired there. So I will, I think, along with everybody else, await what they find out, because it was a disturbing video. Secondly, I want to thank Rebecca Kaysen from the Women's Center, who stepped up to provide her building on Michigan Avenue as a warming center. She sent me a message when we were having trouble trying to find more spaces and said they would absolutely open up. And I want to thank the mayor for getting his staff from the economic development team, whatever she needed, or approvals, whatever that may have been, for her to open up literally the next day. And it was sorely needed, as this weekend when the temperatures plummeted on Friday night to negative 13 to 16, they were a full house. So I very much appreciate that she stepped up to this. I believe that they are still open, and if you are able, they need volunteers, and they need donations, blankets or money or anything at this point. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Martinez.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the members of the public who attended the at-large constituent contact co-host of the Deep Green Data Center project proposal at the Lansing Center on Saturday. We appreciate you all coming out. We had a very good turnout, and I also just want to give a good shout out to all of my colleagues. We have a great council, all 8 of us, right? But I'm really grateful for an awesome at-large team, Councilman Garza, Vice President Pelavanoglu, Councilwoman Carter. I have a lot to learn from all of you. I don't know if you know I'm new here. So I've realized watching you all that you're all very impressive, and I appreciated how you navigated a lot of those conversations and in order to just create more transparency for folks. And thank you to the community partners that attended as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, I had a scroll of comments, but because of the late start, I'll spare all of you. But there was one that was critically important to discuss again, and that is the one-time date change in terms of our third ward constituent contact meeting. I want to, as much as possible, get out in front of anybody showing up and being kind of left out in the cold on February 14th. We typically, for third ward meetings, meet the second Saturday of each month. I'm going to be out of town. And historically, I would have maybe canceled or maybe asked another council member to step in for me. But because of the really important work that is ongoing right now, and I think the importance of making sure that timely updates are given and that the work continues, I wanted to make sure to not cancel, but rather just amend the date. So we're actually going to, in February, meet February 21st. So instead of the second Saturday, we'll meet the third Saturday, 10 to 12 noon, same location, 5825 Wise Road, which is the Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center, in the Sandy Allen Room. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein. Any further comments from council members? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. I have no announcements, so we will go ahead to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, we'll give you 1 minute to tell us the details.
Deborah Mulcahy. The West Side Neighborhood Association is meeting on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. And at approximately 7 p.m., Senator Sarah Anthony will be present to address us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other community events?
All right, thank you. So the Village Lansing, if you guys don't know, we moved over into Rio 121 Rio Road, and our boxing program is up in full swing. So I would love for any of you all to stop by and check it out. Check out what we're doing at Rio. We got a lot of community organizations that are moving into that space. We're trying to get folks in there. And we've had folks, Miles Johnson being one, that have come. Our judges have come over there and seen the space, and as they're interacting with other community groups and they're talking about space that they may need, they're offering that up to them. So we'd love to pack that place. We had a meeting today, the mayor attended, and councilman is saying about, what we'd like to do in that space. So other things that are happening in that space, in March, we'll go back to our in-person 360 meetings. They're every Wednesday from noon to 1, conversation around gun violence prevention, intervention, and support. If you want to get involved in that community as well as our council, many of you all do attend that, please do so. We're at Zoom right now, so this Wednesday, 12 to 1 will be on Zoom. You can find that information on our Facebook page. And then our Cradle to Career is our education portion. Our meeting is tomorrow, 6 p.m., and that's also by Zoom, and you can find that on our Facebook page.
Thank you. Other community events? All right, moving on then. We're to registration for public comment on legislative matters. So for council meetings, you do need to sign in and turn that form in. It's a blue sheet for legislative matters. Legislative matters does include items 2 through 19 on the printed council agenda. So if you wish to speak during legislative matters, we'll give you another minute to get up and sign in with Maggie in the back. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have a list of things. I'm going to try and do it quickly, though, because some of this is really important. So I want to first thank a whole variety of folks that really helped out over the weekend to make sure that we had warming centers and we had locations that were open. Councilman Cost mentioned the Women's Center. Thank you, Councilman. I know you did reach out to Rebecca, and I appreciate that. I thought you reached out to her. You said she reached out to you, but I think you reached out to her, and I appreciate that. We want to thank the Women's Center. I want to thank Union Missionary Baptist. So the Women's Center had 14 people. Union Missionary Baptist had a few families. The Lansing School District had 5 or 6 people that were there. The Southside Community Coalition had 9 folks that were there. City Rescue Mission had 56 night drop-in, 312 day drop-in. They had 339 dinners, 320 single men, women, and children. The CATA was incredible. They ran a bus 24/7, which I think is still running. And they transported between 50 and 60 people daily from Let's to the CATA station or to the open shelter. They moved people all night, and people were on that bus getting warm. Let's Center had 50 to 60 people each night, including foot checks by the MSU medical outreach team, which was awesome. I want to thank a variety of folks that helped to staff and to volunteer. We know that our HRCS staff staffed a few of the locations. We had Advent House staffing locations. Linda Carl, Khadijah Erickson, Greg Pratt, I believe Kelsey Hector, and a variety of those folks had teams, and they went out to some of the outdoor areas where we had folks, and they tried to convince them to come indoors. For those that they couldn't convince, they provided blankets and hand and foot warmers, sleeping bags, other life-saving resources to those who just chose not to come indoors. Thank you. Jerry Norris, my friend, we work together. Jerry Norris, I know he was out there helping. So a lot of these folks, it was really important for them to be able to get out there and help. Our HR staff, CS staff has ordered more of these supplies, and we're going to try and get out to folks who, for whatever reason, won't come in from the cold. We want to make sure to support people, but having these centers open, I thought was huge. Several churches were open, Shiloh over on Waverly, and then I think they had a pipe burst, so they ended up doing transportation instead. Again, Union Missionary, Friendship, So we saw people pitching in from all over the city. So thank you to everybody. I thought that was a great effort. Additionally, we have a meeting tomorrow night on the pods. This is the advisory boards that are meeting to review the proposals and make a recommendation. So I'm looking forward to hearing that recommendation. We still, for anyone out there, we are still taking, any suggestions, and we've actually had a few others that we'll continue to vet, but the advisory boards are going to do that. I wanted to tell folks, if you don't know, the City of Lansing was granted $4.3 million from the Michigan Talent Partnership Program awardees, and various, it's going to be for Riotown, and various improvements throughout the Riotown neighborhood, including district wayfinding, lighting and placemaking projects, multimodal transportation updates for safer pedestrians, transit and bike access, park and river access improvements, and small business and entrepreneurial support. So that's awesome. So thank you to the state. Thank you to, I know Senator Anthony was a big part of putting that program together. And then lastly, we've gotten certainly lots of questions about plowing. The city has been plowing main roads. We would like to get into neighborhoods, but right now the streets are completely iced over and you've got snow that fell on top of it. Our folks are ready to go into the neighborhoods, but if they go in right now, they will take the snow layer off and they will plow it right down to ice. And that's where we're gonna have major accidents. We've seen that if you're driving 127 or 496, you've seen that all over the place. So our folks are holding off on going into neighborhoods until it gets a little bit warmer, the ice melts, and then we're gonna go into neighborhoods and we're gonna plow those neighborhoods. I know some people were upset that we didn't have plows into the neighborhoods, and I get that, but we did plow the main roads as much as we could. We plowed bus routes, but we also, in case you don't know, there is a salt shortage, which apparently is national. I heard about this on the East Coast. So we are using, and plus salt doesn't work in the low temperatures we have right now, so putting down salt would just be a waste of salt that we don't have. But our public service staff has actually been very clever. They're working on a chloride sand mixture that they are actually putting down in certain locations to see if we can get that to melt the ice quicker. So they'll be out doing everything they can, but again, we don't want to take the top layer of snow off, which provides a little bit of traction, and then have more accidents. But certainly we encourage everybody to drive slow. It was snowing again when I walked in, so Mother Nature is Mother Nature, and we all have to do our best. But and to my final point, I know a lot of council members have asked, we'll do a better job of communications. Everything I just said should have been on social media, should have been on our website. Our folks were spending a lot of time doing the work over the weekend, but we're gonna get that up on social media, so that way, when you get asked, you can point to that and say, this is the public service, this is what's going on. So we'll do a better job there. That's what I've got. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we are to public comment on legislative matters. And as I indicated, that includes items 3 through 19, as well as the late item. We have Deborah Mulcahy, followed by Mike Lynn. And you have 3 minutes to address City Council.
Good evening, Deborah Mulcahy. On item number 13 and 14 in reference to the noise permit, I say do not proceed. It's not necessary unless there's an excess of water. Most of you know we've been in a drought, except for this present situation. As to items number 12, which is associated with number 19 for the rezoning for the area on Martin Luther King and the associated the shelter permit, the concerns I have are reiterated again, as I said earlier. And I was present at the same meeting that Spatafor was at. The zoning was approved unanimously, and the special use was 4-3. I don't understand why they did it, but they did. The information in the packet that you received is not consistent with the information that Pastor Kenny has stated. It's not a shelter care facility. He said it was a trustee who applied for it based on the information the city gave them. I've made a FOIA to request any other additional information because what I saw what I received was for a temporary use, not a shelter care facility. So I would even ask city attorney, Is it legal to even issue a rezoning and a permit that has not even been requested by an applicant? I would suggest not. The shelter care facility is not something that has been discussed or shared with the West Side Neighborhood Association. For the rezoning, the entire area will be rezoned. And an industrial use, I've lived there for a really long time. I don't know of any industrial use right there except south of the river where the plant is. Now, that is very industrial, but minor industrial use, I'm unaware of it. I don't know what the end game is for the city of Lansing there, but why would you do that? Why would you make this church and these people go through this and spend money when they're trying to help people and all they needed was a temporary shelter? I really don't understand. Thank you much.
Thank you. Next is Mike Lynn.
No intention on speaking on the agenda, but it was brought up. So I can speak on the immigration enforcement policy. So I've been in conversations with our law enforcement officers from around this kind of region through our ALPAC meetings and other spaces that I've seen them. And I just was really concerned as I sat in a meeting last week after all that's transpired across the country as far as ICE is concerned, especially specifically Minneapolis, because I remember back in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered that we kind of replicated that behavior, even though that hadn't actually happened here. We lost a lot of a good coordination that we had at the time because we had no plan for something like that transpiring. So I'm really concerned because we've kind of gone down the same path countrywide when these things happen. Lansing, we have a really good activist groups here in the city. We have a lot of organizations that's happening outside of city government. But when I asked, law enforcement what their plan was, it was really more about people control rather than ICE control. And so that concerns me that we'd be in the same position that we would be that Minneapolis is in right now, where you got tens of thousands of people in the street, folks getting killed, and a law enforcement department that just kind of is hands off at this point. That's their answer because they really didn't plan for it. And we have enough. I think about back to COVID, and I talk about this in some of my classes, like what our response was to COVID in March. When we kind of seen it over there in Wuhan, we were like, oh, that's not America. We don't have that problem, right? And then like a week or two later, it was here. And the first thing we did was run and get toilet paper. Like the stupidest thing you can do. That was our plan to respond to COVID, right? Because we just didn't have a plan. So I think one of the best things we can do to combat what's happening across the country is get ahead of it. This council, our administration, our good people, we are, what I would imagine to be somewhat of a sanctuary city of sorts. Just the population of immigrants that we have in this city to thrive. We could be the next target easily. Gretchen made a very, very public statement on these issues that are going on, and being this is her home city, we could be real easily the next target that ICE comes to in full force. And I would just say that with all the good hearts that we got at council and our administration, to start thinking about what we might do. If our community starts to get ravaged by something like this and have a plan in place, a lot of times better than having a firearm is just a plan of execution, right? We've seen just most recently Alex get murdered with a firearm on him. I do CPL instruction. That's a nightmare to be actually exercising your rights and exercising your right to protect another right, get all of that violated and get killed in front of national TV and then see the response from them. I don't want to see us there. We've done a lot of work to this point, to get to where we are, where I don't have to come down here and cuss y'all out every week. We've went a long ways, right? And so I don't want to see us to that point where our community is in outrage and our government hasn't learned how to behave with us in that certain state. I'd rather see us all on the same team, which we are in now, because it's not happening here, and so we won't know where we are as a community until it happens. So let's be planned out for it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
That is a proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Okay, we're to resolutions for action. We have the council rules.
President Spatafor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're looking at a rule to amend Rule 16 with the standing committees. As you all know, the city charter was changed by the voters recently, and it moves the internal auditor out from underneath the council's jurisdiction. So the Committee on Municipal Audit was created to guide the work of the internal auditor. We're no longer overseeing the internal auditor. We took a look at that rule, eliminated that committee, and then moved the external audit oversight and some of the pieces that were affiliated with that onto the Committee on Ways and Means. So I would move the amendment to Rule 16.
you. A proper motion has been made. Sorry, was that you? Proper motion's been made. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Okay, we're to item 16, deficit elimination plan.
Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. We heard earlier this evening at the Committee of the Whole meeting from Crystal Thomas and Jake Brower from the administration explaining the reason for this deficit elimination plan that is somewhat a procedural move. There have been dollars paid out and reimbursements received, and in order to comply with the state of Michigan requirements, they have submitted this information so that we can have an ending fund balance of $0. And with that, I will move the deficit elimination plan.
That's a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we are to item 17, claim disposition.
Sure. Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. This is a claim disposition, number 2203, Maria Fletcher, in the amount of $1,649 in trash fees at the location of 1128 Hickory Street. This is a property owned by Ms. Fletcher, where she had received an invoice and eventually the amount of $1,649 had been placed on her taxes. She was also asking for a reimbursement of $350 that was paid out of her own personal dollars to have some trailers removed from the property. Ms. Fletcher did come before the City Operations Committee last week, and a discussion was had. Ultimately, the committee moved forward and denied the claim of appeal. And I will just say that as we consider this resolution, just a reminder to my colleagues that a yes vote on this resolution means that we are denying the claim. A yes vote means that we are willing to reimburse her for these dollars. And with that, I will move the resolution.
Yes vote is denying the claim, no is reimbursement.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Councilmember Carter.
Can you confirm, you said she's requesting just $350 for reimbursement, or just all together?
So she had appealed in the amount of $1,999 total, $350 of which she had paid separately from the amount that was billed to her taxes. There was the trash removal that the city ultimately conducted and was invoiced for and had paid tax dollars in the amount of $1,649. And additionally, there were some trailers on the property that were removed that she had paid for out of her personal funds for $350. So that request was lumped together for the total of $1,999.
Okay. Councilmember Hussein.
Just real quick, I had an opportunity to watch the committee meeting back, and I just wanted to commend Ms. Martinez, Mr. Costin, Ms. Pelivanaglou. Did I say that right? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm incredibly impressed. I thought the care and consideration you gave to this issue was commendable, I think, particularly in trying to get this particular claimant to understand the process. I mean, this was about as clear case and textbook as you could possibly imagine in terms of code-related policies, the way that they were enforced. But you guys, you really spent a considerable amount of time, I think, with this particular claimant. And as somebody that was watching it, certainly appreciated that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein. We do have a proper motion before us. Reminder, voting yes would deny the claim. Voting no would call out for reimbursement from the city. So, with that in mind, all those in favor of denial, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we are to item 18, abolishing the Oprah district for 414 Baker.
Councilmember Cost.
Thank you. Folks, this is just if you recall, we have two new members, so you might not recall, but prior to the new year, we passed a Oprah district for this particular property, and about 2 weeks ago, when we had wicked winds, the side caved. So this building has been leveled at this point. This is just closing the loop on the Oprah that we had, the Oprah, it's not an Oprah, it's an Oprah district. Make sure I make that distinction. Close that loop now that the building is gone, because in our research, it shows that the Oprah was tied to the property and not necessarily the building as previously thought. Either way, this is just closing that loop now that there's nothing there except for rubble. So no obsolete building. So I would move the resolution.
This is a proper motion. Are there any questions? Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Cost, I understand, what happened to that building now. Are they moving away? They don't plan on doing anything else with that property now because of what happened to the building?
They could potentially, but it wouldn't involve an Oprah because there's nothing obsolete there anymore. So the actual Rehabilitation Act requires that old building to still be standing, which it's not.
Well, have you heard one way or the other?
I haven't. It's a pretty tight, the alleyway was only, when we were, it was dangerous when they were knocking it down. I was there with code compliance who was trying to manage the thing. And it's tight on both sides, and it's actually butted up on the other side for the building. So the lot itself is tight. I don't know what could be used for it, but it is in Rio Town. And there's, the other Oprah that we passed a block away, so things are happening there. The owner could be interested in trying to save it, or do something rather with the property that's still there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, just real quick, because I actually think this is the right move. I think there was some disagreement, maybe with law, but if you read, the language is, in my opinion, kind of murky. And if you read the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, it does read as if site conditions beyond maybe a deteriorated building could render any property functionally and legally obsolete. And so there's some language in there about, I think, environmental conditions or adjacent blight, that type of thing. And so I do think this is the right move in terms of tying this up, particularly, if we were to see a development at that particular location, we certainly would want to be able to determine whether a district and a cert made sense for that particular development, considering the fact that when you do approve those types of things, obviously there's a trade-off. So some of the economic impact is abated, and of course, if it makes sense for the surrounding community and for the city, we certainly want to support that. But I'd rather see the city council have a full bite at the apple, and there be really no discrepancy. So I think it's the right move. Thank you, Councilmember Cost.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
And we are to the late item regarding enforcement of immigration.
Councilmember Palavano.
Thank you. Council members, you have before you an item that was added as a late item. So this addresses immigration enforcement, specifically within the city of Lansing, and I will read a portion of the paragraphs for your consideration. Whereas Lansing City Council is committed to identifying and addressing issues related to fostering trust between the police and the communities they serve, and whereas trust between residents and public officials, including law enforcement agencies operating within the city of Lansing, is essential to community safety, civic participation, and access to public services. Whereas civil immigration enforcement practices that obscure officer identification, including the use of face coverings or masks that conceal identity by law enforcement officers during civil enforcement actions, can undermine transparency, obscure identification, and erode public trust, particularly in communities that have historically experienced over-policing, surveillance, and discrimination. Whereas reports across the nation indicate that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE officers, have in some instances conducted civil immigration enforcement actions while wearing masks or other face coverings that conceal their identities. raising concerns regarding accountability and due process. And whereas ICE officers across the country have reportedly engaged in a pattern of discriminatory enforcement actions and detentions that constitute profiling based on perceived racial or ethnic identity, practices that are inconsistent with the City of Lansing and Lansing Police Department's policies and actions. And whereas the City of Lansing has previously affirmed its role as a welcoming community and has adopted policies intended to ensure that city resources are not used in ways that harm community trust or public safety. And whereas ICE is a federal agency beyond the direct authority of the City of Lansing, the city has a responsibility to use its voice and advocate for practices that uphold civil rights, human dignity, and transparency for all residents, regardless of immigration status. Whereas clear identification of law enforcement officers, including visible faces, name badges, and agency identification supports accountability, lawful conduct, and the ability of individuals to exercise their rights. It goes on to say, now therefore it be resolved, the Lansing City Council formally opposes the use of masks or face coverings by ICE officers that conceal their identities during civil immigration enforcement activities occurring within the City of Lansing, except in circumstances where face coverings are required for verified health or public safety reasons. Be it further resolved, the Lansing City Council encourages the mayor and Office of City Attorney to collaborate with appropriate legal subject matter experts, including external immigrant rights legal organizations, to develop a proposed city policy that is consistent with the aims and values articulated in this resolution. Be it further resolved, City Council reaffirms the City of Lansing's commitment to being a welcoming and inclusive community and to protecting the safety, dignity, and civil rights of all residents, including immigrant and mixed status families. And be it finally resolved that the Lansing City Council encourages and urges cities, townships, villages, school districts, and other governmental entities within the greater Lansing region, as well as healthcare organizations and public transit systems, to consider adopting similar resolutions and policies that promote transparency, accountability, racial equity, and public trust, and oppose the use of face coverings that conceal the identities of ICE officers during civil enforcement actions. With that, I move the resolution.
That is a proper motion. Is there comments or questions? Councilmember Cost.
Thank you. Just quickly, I am supportive of this idea. I certainly am concerned about what's happening in this country, but I want to make sure that we're clear that this is a resolution that is, I don't want to use the word superficial, but there's no enforcement of law in here. So I don't want anyone to say if they run across an individual that is ICE with a mask on, you can't wear that mask and get into a confrontation because we passed this. I want to be very clear that this is, it is a statement of opposition. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Because I can just see in my head with how things are playing out in this country that someone would think, well, City Council passed this thing and it has enforcement of law, which it doesn't. I just don't want to see anyone get hurt in a confrontation that they might be wrong in, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next week. So, but again, I'm supportive of the resolution, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cost. Completely appreciate that, and I think that is that's a very timely statement. The spirit of this, again, is just another piece to ensure that we're reducing those instances of chaos throughout our community. We simply don't know what may happen, but I think it is important to note that this is not an ordinance, it is a resolution. We are using our voice to be supportive of all of our residents, and we hope for the best outcomes in those public safety instances if and when they do happen here locally.
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, President Spatafor. I would agree. I'm in full support of this resolution. I think I would be remiss, and I believe it was already stated by Mr. Lynn, that after having the fortunate opportunity to speak with our civil rights activist, Diane Nash, recently as a keynote speaker at the MLK Day of Celebration, she was very clear in stating being meticulous in having a strategic plan. So although we are passing or potentially passing this resolution, I do think I would be remiss if we did not already start having some plan of action from the administration office, from OCA, from all of us who have the obligation to really protect those in our community, all of those in our community, and so that they feel that we have a full allyship collectively together. So I would love for us to continue to start thinking how we can put this plan together so that we can make sure that we're protecting those in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't usually weigh in this, but certainly I will here. Yes, agree to all of that. The administration we're trying to figure out our city plan of what do we do. But I think that there is a difference between the city plan and the advocates plan. We certainly have folks in our community that are very interested, concerned, you name the word, and I think they're meeting as well. In fact, I know they're meeting as well. So certainly we'll take input, but what we can do through a city, through an HRCS, through an LPD, through an LFD is very different than what people might do or might try to do, or protesters or other things. So we are certainly working on that, but I know that many of you here at this table and many out who are watching this are also coming up with ideas and thoughts, and I think that it should all be coordinated, but we'll continue to work on a city plan, and I've had conversations with a variety of other cities that have done this, everything from Know Your Rights websites to other things. The city of Madison has a great site, so we're pulling together those people. We're looking at all the right things that we can do as a city government, but that is important to notify that that's different than what the city advocates and citizens and groups are doing, which I'm excited to see that people are engaged in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we are to ordinances for introduction and setting a public hearing. We have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezoning of 4 parcels of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1242.02 of the Code of Ordinances, and that's for property located on South Cedar Street, Z2 2025 is the identification. It's read a first time by its title and referred to the Committee of the Whole. There we go. I don't know how that happened. Okay, Z1 2026
At 500 South Martin Luther
at
King.
500 South Martin Luther King, yes.
All right. Councilmember Palavano.
Alrighty, thank you. So this introduction of ordinance does concern the property at 500 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and the rezoning request from DT1 Downtown Edge to DT2 Urban Flex. Earlier this evening at Committee of the Whole, we did have representatives from EDP as well as the pastor from Union Missionary Baptist Church to speak on this. The request is that this be passed so that the property can operate partly as a sheltered care facility, specifically to house families during times of inclement weather and need within the city of Lansing. And so that is the introduction of the ordinance, and I move that the public hearing be held on Monday, February 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m.
There's a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. If you wish to address city council, you will need to fill out a yellow form and turn it in with Maggie in the back in the next minute if you haven't already done so. And with that, we are to referral items.
Vice President Palavano.
I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by President Spatafor.
It is a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have from the city clerk minutes of boards and commissions.
Place on file.
From the mayor, workers' comp settlement.
Ways and Means.
We have We have orders to make safe or demolish, as well as setting the show cause hearing for the following addresses: 904 East Kalamazoo, 408 Sawyer Road, 408 Norman Street, 2112 North High Street, 1004 Katy Court, 3126 Maloney Street, and that's the last one.
Public safety.
We have two items on Brownfield Plan number 90, Capitol Walk Apartments on South Chestnut Street.
Development and planning.
Traffic control order to regulate parking on Josephine Way.
City operations.
Transportation asset management plan.
City operations.
A drain easement for the Board of Water and Light at 2030 Lake Lansing Road and 2320 Wood Street in Lansing Township.
City operations.
And we have three notices from Liquor Control Commission regarding, one is Michigan Food and Spirits at 533 Mall Court for an SDD license. One is for Zick and Knack Foods at 1218 Turner for a Class C in SDM. And one is, the third is for Sea Level at 200 South Washington Square, a new Class C.
City operations.
We have an affidavit of disclosure, William Turvo, Lansing Police Department.
The ethics board.
34 communications from Allison Peeler,
Place on file.
and a communication from Jason LaFay in support of the Deep Green Data Center.
Place on file.
We are to remarks by council members.
Any remarks from council members? All right.
Remarks by the mayor.
Mr. Mayor? All right.
Okay, then we are to public comment on city government-related matters. We do have, I'm going to say, about 30 people signed in.
Okay.
First speaker is Kelly Smith, followed by Joanne Galloway. You have up to 3 minutes to address city council.
Before we get started, I just want to remind folks, this is the portion of the meeting where you have an opportunity to address the city council, and the council generally does not respond. It is a business meeting, so we ask that everyone maintain decorum, avoid profanity, personal attacks, and disruptive behavior. Because this meeting is broadcast, profanity can create compliance issues and may result in the speaker being cut off. That's all I have to say, and your 3 minutes begins now. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I just wanted to make some feelings known about the data center getting to go in. I know there's been a lot of, oh, just keep going. All right, false start. There was a lot of people had really fantastic points during the committee of the whole, and there's no way I could go over all of them. I honestly feel for and agree with plenty of them, especially concerns around the environment, noise, possible uses that we could be using that place for. I know there's a lot of conversation around whether or not we're going to rezone this to allow the construction to be built there, while in the same breath talking about, well, it's not zoned for housing or it's not zoned for this other. So what I'm hearing is possibilities are kind of endless for that locale. What concerns me a lot is that we are putting our trust into a company that is pretty new. It is a smaller LLC underneath a very large one, Octopus, to my understanding, which has quite a few large concerns on the international level. With this, the Deep Green being a newer LLC, and this being one of their bigger facility, their biggest facility that they're going to be creating, it's very concerning to me that they are choosing Lansing to be kind of the proving grounds for that. They're also an international company from Britain, I believe, and I ask why they want to leave the UK to experiment with a larger facility. Perhaps it'll be easier to skirt environmental regulations or permits. I know these were conversations that some of the people from the city were trying to assure us wouldn't happen, but in years of following other infrastructure, such as pipelines and fracking and other things, it's no secret to me that it's very regularly occurring that as the tides turn within a corporation, they'll just eat the penalties because the profit that they're making for the service that they provide is worth it. So when I hear, well, if they go over their usage or whatever at BWL, we'll penalize them, but it doesn't instill trust in me that they actually have us as Lansing residents' best interest in mind when I've seen corporations, especially multinational corporations, time and time again, step over these people that live in places for their interest of profit. They don't have the interest of the city in mind. And the fact that we could do so many other things and so many other local organizations could use that space is something I think we consider. I mean, we say there's nothing going on there, but I walk around that area and frankly, just putting grass and a tree there, I think would be much better usage of this space than many of the things being proposed by the city. I'm running out of time and I'm rambling a bit, but just please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joanne Galloway, followed by Elizabeth Charavalli.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Galloway from Ward 2. And just bring up a little piece of housekeeping, and I don't know if everybody's even aware of this, but the public comment on legislative matters that happens earlier in the meeting is available virtually. But this public comment at the end is not available virtually. I don't know if there's mechanics that affect that and that's why that is or what it is. But anyway, with that, I bring for you some public comment for someone who's at work.
My name is Darren. I'm a homeowner in the first ward. As you know, over 50
Could you hear that or shall I start again?
volunteers showed up to help the residents of the Dietrich encampment with their move. This is what the power of community building looks like. An everyday community building starts with conversations and shared activities. You probably could have done the exercise of asking yourself how many friends you could realistically call when you hit rock bottom, and it's probably around 2. My friend Carver is amazing. You could learn a lot from them. Their catchphrase is, "I didn't even do anything. I was just there." But being there is how they create connections and stand in solidarity. Carver is known for randomly getting into conversations with strangers on the regular. All over the country, you'll see Carver sharing a beer by a river, making art in a cafe, or going kayaking with complete strangers. They always have time to meet your dogs or share a meal. They're even known to transcend language barriers to befriend people. They stay in touch with people too, like Mr. Rogers did with his friends. Carver has been an emotional support person, an unsanctioned caregiver, a housekeeper, a pet sitter, handyman, pedicab driver, teacher, snow shoveler, jack of odd trades, and dear friend countless. Recently, they were discussing history and philosophy while in a jail cell, and also helped a stranger change a flat tire only to find out that that person was a drag artist on the way to perform. I'm one of dozens of people who are only alive today because of their antics. Carver just being there has saved lives. When I got a text from a strange Louisiana number saying that their backpack had walked off without them, I had to go through their social media to find people in New Orleans to help them. It took only 90 minutes for me to reach their friends to find them, feed them, and get them new gear and clothes. The next day, more gear was given to them, as well as the phone I overnight shipped. Truth is, it wouldn't have mattered where in the country they were. They would have had friends to help them. Instead of destroying communities, why not try building some for a change? The Housing First model is evidence-based. This highly successful solution to homelessness meets people where they are at and provides the stability they need to work to rebuild their lives, participate in the movement, and bring about a Lansing that no matter a person's past, they can thrive here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and if we could take a look at why our final public comment is not available virtually, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Elizabeth Charavalli, followed by Chantel Spears.
Hey y'all, I'm Elizabeth Charavelli. I'm a teacher at Reach Studio Art Center, a business owner, and a homeowner. I co-own a garden plot about a half a mile away from the proposed data center, and I own a home 1 mile away from the proposed data center. I used to live and run a business in Rio Town on East South Street next to the BWL plant and other light industry. Even though these industries are supposedly quiet, it made it really unpleasant to be at home. A continual buzz was terrible, to the point that I moved my business and I bought a home farther away from where I work to avoid the constant buzzing. I don't want this to happen with the proposed data center close to where I currently live. Also, I disagree that this is a light industrial area. The existing master plan is excellent and should not change. This presentation that we heard earlier leaves out over 20 important locations. Everything that I'm about to read is about within a half mile of the proposed data center, and for the average person, that's about a 10-minute walk. There's a children's, is this still working?
Jason.
Hello? Okay, great. I don't want to get cut off early. Everything I'm about to read is about a half mile or about a 10-minute walk from the average person from the proposed data center site. There's a children's museum, Impression 5. There's a theater, Riverwalk Theater. There's a toy store, Park Toys and Gifts. There's a local history museum, the R.E. Olds Transportation Museum. There's a photo gallery, Matthew Michaels. There's a co-working space, Think Space. There's a gym, State of Fitness. There's a craft store, Stamprite. There's a restaurant, Arts Pub. There's a clothing designer called Local Legends. Interestingly, there's an adventure van customization company called Basecamp Van Company. Those guys are really cool. There's an antique store, Dicker and Deal. There's a home goods stores called Capital City Liquidators. There's another restaurant called Taqueria Roatan. There's a recording studio called Michigan Sound Services. There's many community gardens right there, including mine. This area is actually only 0.3 miles from the stadium downtown. It's next to a brewery, Midtown Brewing. It's next to a grocery store, Capital City Market. It's less than a half mile from a boat launch that caters to a kayak company. So Cherry Hill Park with the boat launch there and Old Time Kayak Adventures. And it's 0.4 miles away from the Washington Ave Strange Matter Coffee location and all of downtown. The way that this made it sound seemed like it was in the middle of nowhere, and all of these locations are, again, within a 10-minute walk of where this is. I don't support the rezoning for this. So again, I think the current master plan is excellent. I don't support the rezoning, and I think the data center is wrong for Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Chantel Spears, followed by Deborah Mulcahy.
Okay, I'm Chantel Spears, and I just wanted to first of all thank you for the extension that we got on the Causeway Bay Hotel. So we initially had 6 weeks, now we have an extension, that's great. But that's not enough. Housing is a human right, so these folks don't have anywhere to go. They need that hotel, and they need that those extensions, and those extensions need to be indefinite until they get permanent housing. It's a really complicated process to get housing, and in order to learn about that, I really can't help you learn about that in the same way that you could if you were to visit the Causeway Bay Hotel individually, all you folks up there on the stage. I've invited you folks to visit us. Some of you have, and I really appreciate that. So council members Carter and Pelivanovu have been out, and I've been having discussions with some of you folks to come out and visit as well. It's a really good opportunity to learn, though, what's going on. These 3 minutes, really, I can't do it justice in the same way as a visit to the hotel would. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you folks out there.
Thank you. Next is Deborah Mulcahy, followed by Carver.
Good evening, Deborah Mulcahy. I want to tell you how grateful I am to have fellow residents and citizens in our community who speak in a heartful, educated manner in regard to the multiple issues tonight. I'm really grateful for that. You've heard me talk about plans. First one is homeless. Glad to hear that they're making some progress in reference to the Causeway Hotel. Bring Michigan Works in there. I don't know who can do it, but somebody can. Look at the cost. It cost you $76,000 for 2 months. How much money has been saved by EMS and police not having to attend to homeless issues? Next issue is plans. This has to do with our budget. Mr. Mayor just left, but in reference to the budget, forestry. We need a city forester. We need budget for the staff to support our tree health. When the trees are removed because they're dead, dying, or diseased, we need someone to verify that they're really dead, dying, or diseased. I think you'll find that's not always the situation. As to the police, thank you. I commend you for the resolution you made on ICE tonight. And then separately, last week at the Police Commission, I was privileged to hear Sergeant Zolakny, I'm probably saying that wrong, but he gave a nice presentation in regard to how successful the city police department has been in reference to their candidates and bringing new ones on board. We're now to the point of higher than the 2018 numbers, which is great. And what I'd like to see in a budget approval is it a requirement that community police officers, known as CPOs, be available for the entire city of Lansing? Last, well, not last, but transparency and communication is something that we always need to continue to do better on. In reference to that FOIA, and this goes to the city attorney's office, you need to fix it. Yesterday, today, dates. It's not hard to count on a calendar when documents are due. And you need not to redact. If I'm a requester of a document, why are you redacting personal information about me? And I'm going to pay for that? Please, that doesn't make any sense. Again, I thank you in reference to meeting formats going forward, not for this council, but when you hold meetings like were held for Deep Green last Saturday, the concept of having these breakout areas where people can go talk to people individually, I'm sure there's some merit to it, but a lot of people lose the opportunity to hear what is said because what you might tell me as a person from Deep Green or the board, you might not tell the next person that comes along in the same way. And I might ask a question because I'm not really very versed in it, and the other person has more knowledge. We can learn from each other in a forum just as this. And I would appreciate you having those forums change in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carver, followed by James Raddick.
Okay, so I did not tell that person earlier to do that. Either way, community is important. Please build community. Thank you, Ryan, for doing so. Okay, so over this weekend, there was an emergency level of freeze, temperatures in the negatives, wind chills below -20 Fahrenheit. Temperatures like that mean death. I would like to thank Council Member Ryan Koss for attempting to convince city government officials to open publicly owned buildings in order to help keep residents safe. We might not agree on everything, but Ryan is the only person in front of me that I consistently see showing up for the people. It is discouraging to learn that local officials, particularly the mayor, felt that it would be too expensive to allow people to use public buildings to stay warm. Thank you, Ryan, for continuing to pressure him. You may have saved lives. Money is an imaginary construct that we don't need to value over human life. When I call out Mayor Shore for being a murderer, this is exactly the type of behavior I am referencing. The choice to make leadership decisions with no regard for the impact that endangers people's lives and safety. It's hilarious that he has a pattern of stating how proud he is of actions happening across Lansing to assist people when that aid was created due to his vacuum. Most of his actions translate to let them eat cake. It is nice that CATA had the #1 bus line running 24 hours for a few days. I hope that helped people. I would also like to thank the regular warming centers, the Women's Center of Greater Lansing, the Fledge, Elmhurst, Allen Neighborhood Center, and any other nonprofit and even churches who open their doors to keep people warm. I would like to thank Punks with Lunch, the Tenant Resource Center, the Ingham County Health Department, and any other community members who drove around town helping residents get into warming centers, gave them survival gear, and otherwise kept them from danger during this emergency. I know not everyone was willing to come inside, but by ensuring people had options, you saved lives. Thank you for being here for our neighbors and providing them with the care that they deserve and the government should have provided. You have shown the true shining star of Lansing as its community. I would also like to close out that ICE does not belong in Lansing. This is a sanctuary city. No amount of de-escalation training will protect us from a genocidal army that seeks to kill us. We need actions, not words. At least 4 of you look like if an ICE agent was in a bad mood, he might ruin your entire life. We should be keeping our community safe from fascism by any means necessary.
Thank you. Next is James Raddick, followed by Jody Washington.
Hi, James Raddick. I'm a 4th warder and a teacher at Everett High School. I want to share some personal views, if that's okay. In 2017, the Lansing City Council, as it was then composed, codified language that designated Lansing as a sanctuary city. Mr. Hussein, I think you were the only member on that council at the time that is still here. It was a largely symbolic measure that lacked any real teeth, but it was a nice gesture. That designation lasted a week and a half. The city council, as it was then composed in 2017, proved to be spineless and voted to rescind that largely symbolic measure. I remember attending those meetings in 2017. I remember them being contentious, with those in attendance being divided on the issue. I remember speaking at those meetings, just as I'm speaking here today, and urging our local leaders to do the right thing. That is what we do in times of division and uncertainty. We look to our leaders to do the right thing. Today, I am asking you all to do the right thing. I am asking you to draft and move forward with legislation that will designate Lansing as a sanctuary city. I am hoping that this city council will prove to have more spine than the council of 2017 and pass some legislation that contains some real teeth and not just statements of opposition. Lansing should not cooperate with federal immigration and customs enforcement officers in any manner whatsoever. That means not assisting with activity in any form or fashion, and doing whatever we can to let these officers know that they are not welcome in our community. Michigan is currently home to one such sanctuary city, our neighbors in East Lansing. I am asking you all to do the right thing and make Lansing the second. I am asking you to take a stand against federal government overreach and to stand with our immigrant community, with our students and with their families. I'm asking you to let them know that you have their backs and will keep them safe. It is my hope that you all possess more bravery and conviction than those who sat in your chairs 9 years ago did. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jody Washington, followed by Levi Labruzzi.
Thank you. Excuse me, Jody Washington. I will start by saying helping people who are homeless matters. I've been doing it for 10 years now, and many of you up there know what I do and what I have done. I'm not at the dais up here telling everybody the work I do, okay? But you are fully aware, and you've met a lot of my people. But what matters just as much is whether what we're doing actually works, and right now it doesn't. Our default response to homelessness is always the same: more shelters, more warming centers, more low-income housing. We approve them, we congratulate ourselves, and then we move on. But these are not solutions, they are holding patterns. Homelessness is not the core problem, it is the symptom. The real problems are untreated addiction, untreated mental illness, trauma, lack of basic life skills, and disconnection from work and community. Housing alone does not fix those issues, and pretending that it does has serious consequences. Many people experiencing homelessness in this city have already been housed, often more than once. Many who die while homeless die after they've been housed. I've lost all of my people after they were housed. That should stop us in our tracks. It tells us that placement without sustained support, treatment, and accountability is a systemic failure. We are a city of barely 114,000 people, and we already operate shelters with hundreds of beds. Yet homelessness continues and expands. If this approach were effective, the numbers would be going down. But what we see is constant expansion. More facilities, pods, more nonprofits, more hoteling, more services without evidence that people are permanently exiting homelessness. We have built in a system that manages homelessness, not one that resolves it. Our funding rewards activities, not outcomes. Once someone is placed in low-income housing, the system largely considers the job done, even when it clearly is not. So before approving another shelter, I am asking council to pause and change direction. We need an exit-forced model, one that measures success by how many people permanently leave homelessness, stay housed, and regain independence, not by how many beds we add. That means demanding answers to hard questions. How many people permanently exited homelessness last year? How many returned after being housed? Who is accountable when someone fails after placement? What supports continue long after the ribbon cuttings? Continue to do more of what hasn't worked is not compassion, it's avoidance, it's abandonment. If we are serious about helping people, then we must stop expanding systems that sustain dependency and start investing in recovery, treatment, skills, employment, and long-term accountability. I'm not asking you to stop helping people. I'm asking you to stop approving solutions that don't solve the problem. Thank you. And Andy, you are the only one that can make us a sanctuary city. Council can't do it.
Thank you.
Next is Levi Labruzzi, followed by Chantel Broyles.
Hi. You got my last name right, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate some of what I was saying earlier and some of the stuff a lot of friends and neighbors here have expressed that I have a lot of concerns about the data center being built. I take a lot of issue with like the proposed lot. It feels very residential. I used to live over on Beach Street, so that was like maybe a 2-minute walk from where I was. Yeah, I don't think that this data center is right for Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Chantel Brock, or I'm sorry, Sean Brock, followed by Michael Mercer.
So as we established, I'm Sean Brock. You're probably getting tired of seeing me, but I want to personally thank the council members that have showed up to the hotel to meet with the people that are there on their terms. I also want to thank the members that haven't been able to, but have been in contact with me about this. Again, I would invite anybody to come in. Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best time when we have the most people there to come in and speak to these people, get to know the people. I also want to say that every movement of importance has a starting place. Why cannot Lansing be the starting place to figure out something to do with not just homelessness? That's my main concern. That's what I normally deal with. But as far as what's going on in Minnesota, what's going on with becoming 1930s Germany here in what is supposed to be the land of the free. We have people at CATA being what looked to be complete harassment. Now, we don't know everything. We don't know what led up to this situation. I get that. But we have to treat people as people, and we need to be those leaders. There's no reason why Lansing cannot be that leader. I have lived here for almost 57 years. I turned 57 this coming spring. We have the abilities in this town. We have great community leaders. We have great support with community that have been helping with this situation over the weekend with the cold and continuing to deal with this cold. I personally was supposed to work at one of the warming centers, and I ended up not being able to because my vehicle would not start because of the cold. But we have great community leaders, and we need everybody to not just listen to our community leaders. We need people to step up and become community leaders. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Michael Mercer, followed by Clementine. Looks like he left, so Clementine, followed by Stephanie Onder Channing.
Hello. I've been a resident of Lansing my whole 28 years of life. I just wanted to say I spent a lot of time downtown around Kalamazoo and Cedar Street, and that area is like is surrounded by lots of residential areas, lots of natural areas. I found it really concerning when the concern from the BWL about water, like spoilage of water from the data center was going to be covered by insurance policies, but that's not like, so that money is not necessarily going to save people from being poisoned by that water. Like, it might help them after the fact, but we shouldn't be allowing these kinds of things so close to things that could be so damaging to so many people, so many residents in Lansing. I find that really concerning, as well as the noise. I believe like there's a significant amount of residential area there that could be really heavily affected. and I think there's much more valuable things that we could be using that for. I also don't think it's the most valuable thing to be using for parking right now either, but that's another matter. I also just want to, something that was said earlier that made me think about this, but the idea of permanently out of homelessness is a very nonsensical idea to me, as we are all one accident, one terrible situation away from being homeless. There is no permanent being away from homelessness in this country because we don't have the safety systems to make that possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Stephanie Onder-Channing, followed by Faith Bradley.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Onder-Channing. I spoke earlier to y'all. Thank you for listening again. I've lived in Lansing for over a decade. I'm a nurse here in Lansing, and I am hearing a lot of things, a lot of community members concerned about the data center. It really grinded my gears when the person from the planning office said there's not pedestrians in that area. Every time I'm driving through that area, I go on walks through that area. There's people always walking over that bridge at Kalamazoo. It speaks to a lack of connection to the area, and there's a lot of people who are deeply connected to that area, even though it is not a shiny commercial area and everything. I think that prioritizing a not just out of town, but out of country business and their interests over what the people of this city really want. And I don't think the people of this city are asking for a data center. There's not many who are, if they are, but I think that if you're caring about the long term, we also don't know what the long-term impacts of like these data centers are on the health of the people who live near them. The noise pollution is going to be annoying, but like what happens to the wastewater, the chemicals, all of that, it just seems really short-sighted and really focused on profits over people, and I urge you to not vote for it in February.
Thank you. Next is Faith Bradley, followed by Kyle Richard.
Hi, y'all. I spoke earlier as well about the Deep Green Data Center. Just as a reminder, I'm a homeowner that's living 9 blocks away from there. I'm also an urban farmer in the east side. And won't really reiterate what I already talked about, but just want to say that I was feeling very uninspired by the presentation by the Planning Commission, and that I think a lot of people have said that they would much prefer anything else to go over there, like whether it's housing or a community center or a shelter. And I want to echo kind of what people have said about that, but also that it felt like to me that there was like this desperation for development. And I think if, there's a lot of people in this room and a lot of people that I know that are just like not looking for a data center, and I would literally rather there be a parking lot and it just stays the way that it is than to have it be a data center. I don't see any benefits to myself personally, or to any of my neighbors. I think what was brought up about the noise ordinance and that the industrial rezoning, there would be no regulation on noise. That's really concerning to me. I really appreciate the council members' pointed questions to the Planning Commission. The responses again left me with little faith for this project and how it will be held accountable. If it passes, there appears to be way too many unknowns. And it seems like not a lot of research has been done. There was kind of a lot of, we don't know, or we haven't looked into the report, we haven't done any studies, and that doesn't fill me with a lot of faith in this going forward. I was also concerned and a little confused with the BWL presentation. It seemed like, and I know there was a distinction made between renewable versus clean energy, but it sounded like that we were going to be able to meet renewable or clean energy goals, which is based on a percentage of our total energy use, by adding more energy, and again, it was unclear to me that in addition to the data center, there's going to be basically a power plant for fuel cells for the 16 megawatts that BWL is not going to provide. And it just seems so counterintuitive to me to be like, we're gonna meet our clean or renewable energy goal by adding more energy. Like, we really should be prioritizing reducing our consumption and, you know, not meeting those like percentage goals by adding more. I also want to quickly mention, I appreciate the passing of the resolution with ICE, and would really like to urge the city of Lansing to follow the lead of other cities in making it, in barring ICE agents and immigration enforcement in general from occupying city property, including city parks. Would really like to see that be presented at a future meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kyle Richard, followed by Eric Almquist.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak on the data center. I do have one clarifying question. I understand the council doesn't normally respond. Has this body already voted to hold, like, to schedule a public hearing on this? Okay. And that's scheduled, that's gonna be February 9th? Okay. So I attended the community meeting hosted by Ryan Koss at Geyer Community Center. Thank you for hosting. And at that community meeting, Deep Green had a PowerPoint presentation and, you know, engaged with questions from the community. At that meeting, the community had, you know, some real questions, you know, that essentially boiled down to, can you show us the science? Can you show us the engineering? And what came back in that meeting was a resounding no. And then towards the end of the meeting, the Deep Green lawyer spoke up sort of in defense of this lack, this absence of science and engineering that they could provide. The Deep Green lawyer said that, you know, you wouldn't design a back deck before you close on the house. You wouldn't design a back deck before you close on the house? Like, one, we're not designing a back deck, right? They want to connect to our public water system. They want to connect to our public water system. And it feels like we're not talking about that part. And that's like deeply concerning to me. It's been a long night. I'll use the rest of my time to speak on this. I recently rewatched The Matrix. And I was watching it and I was thinking, what's the moral of this movie? And some people will tell you it's about red pills and blue pills and the rabbit hole and all that. No. I think The Matrix is about spoons. I think there's a scene where Neo goes to visit the Oracle at her apartment, and there's a young child there who is seemingly bending spoons with his mind. But the reality is that there is no spoon. And I think when it comes to Deep Green and their presentation, there is no spoon. It's all hot air, which is exactly what the data center will provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Eric Almquist, followed by Mike Lynn.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me? I want to hear you talk about the Code Blue, which we've had a couple of them this year. I love the intent of what it's supposed to do to provide warming centers for people, but I think our communication and execution has been a struggle, and I'm not sure why. This should be something that's automatic. During the previous Code Blue, the very first day it was issued, the community center was going to be closed. It did get open, which is the right thing to do, but it shouldn't have been closed in the first place. We need to address that, so this just works like clockwork. In another instance, the Code Blue was run through Sunday, when we knew that Monday and Tuesday would be even colder than those days were, and they did get added in, but I kind of like to see what is the policy for activation, deactivating on Code Blue, because we need to be looking at that. We need to be looking further in the future to find out what it's going to be weather-wise. Just recently, during this Code Blue we're on now, the warming center, when people go there, the door was locked. And the response was, from the people running it as well, if you see a building with lights on and the door's locked, you should knock. But there's no sign up to tell anyone that. And that's something that can be done to communicate. Again, we didn't communicate. They also said, that's a good reason, we didn't keep the door open because of security. It makes a lot of sense. Except yesterday, at Left Community Center, the door was open so people can get in. Again, I think the right decision was made at that point, because if you can't staff the door and don't have people there, get it right, staff it, that's what they're there to do. If you had gone ahead and tried to contact HRCS during this latest Code Blue, and you had said, I need housing help, The response you would have got back in the email said that they were out of funds. And the message referenced the 2024 funding. So it tells me that message was not updated. The message has been pulled down now, but it tells me that no one took the time, and it said you won't get any funds. So people applying would have said, well, I guess there's nothing I can do. So we need to look at everything when we're doing this and do a better job and make it automatic. It's not a question of intent. It's just the process and the coordination of getting this done. I'm hoping that we have clear weather-based criteria, visible posted instructions, and consistent communication across our partners, not just online socially. We're doing a pretty good job of that. But if someone doesn't have a phone or can't charge it for a long period of time, if we put out original information about the community center being closed and we open it up, that's their understanding. So we need to get this automatic. I love how the mayor thanked all these people for getting involved. That should be the basic for what we do in the future. I don't want people to lose their jobs because of this, but I want to make sure we're getting it right. And I'm going to be the thorn in your side until you guys get it right. I know you can. It's a possibility is there, but if you don't, I'm going to be there. This weather is going to run cold through the beginning of next month, below these temperatures. And again, the weather starts up getting cold again around the first week of February. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mike Lynn, followed by Kaja Erickson.
All right, this is what I really actually came here to do. So, first of all, y'all gonna get Council Vice President Palivanoglu's name right. One of these days, come on now, say it with me. It's getting confusing now, it's been too long. She's a very great contributor to LEN, so I had to say that. I came to give y'all orientation in the 360, just real quickly. I'm gonna do this as quickly as I can, as best I can. First of all, I wanna say real quickly, Sanctuary City thing, I said that, but not necessarily asking that we do that, because we gotta really be tactical, because I don't want to draw them here either, right? So that's what I mean by we gotta have conversation, and I understood what Mayor Shore was speaking on. I'm not asking them to get out in the streets with us, but when the people do get in the streets, what's the response from our police, and so on. So anyways, I want to tell y'all about 360. So it's a gun violence prevention collaborative. We talk about enforcement, intervention, supports, prevention, all of that good stuff. But what you really will learn when you come there is what a non-fatal shooting is, right? So I want to just break down some stats. Jody Washington said something I thought was so important. She said, is this approach successful? If it is, the numbers will go down. So I got some good news for y'all. I've been saying it loud and proud for the last 8 months. These numbers have gone down. I can't say for all crime, but I'm not having meetings about felonious assaults. I'm not having meetings about break-ins or any of those other situations. But these numbers right here, whoo. So a non-fatal shooting is basically somebody got shot, went to the hospital, they did not die. Fatal shooting is somebody passed away. Shots incident means that they had a shooting call, they got there and found evidence of it. And a shot call is they got a phone call from somebody to 911 stating that there were shots fired. They might have got there. Maybe they found something. Maybe they didn't find something. Whatever the case is, that kind of goes along with all of it. It's kind of a roundup of it all. In 2021, we had 85 non-fatals. That's 85 people that got shot in the leg, chest, torso. Wherever they did, they just didn't die. We had 23 fatals. We had 449 shot incidents where there was actual evidence of a shots fired. And then shots calls were 1385. Today, 2025, we just had these final numbers come down. I just checked them with Chief Backus. I checked them with my team to make sure that everything we heard over the year lined up. We got 58 seconds. 2025, non-fatals, 45 people had a non-fatal gunshot wound compared to 85 when we first started this conversation. So 40 people didn't have to go to the hospital or make a return trip for surgeries. Their families didn't cry, right? 23 fatal shootings in 21, 7 in 25. Shot incidents, 449 in 21, 187 last year. Shot calls, 1,385 in 2020. 1,385 phone calls to 911. Taking up time, dispatcher, police had to go out there. 25 in 2025, 766. So did this work? Has our approach worked? As the mayor is putting together his budget, as you all are putting your budget priorities together, it did. We still have the same amount of police. We still have the same amount of money out there for police. Police are doing a real amazing job with enforcement, but we have to keep the momentum on this community violence intervention. So please do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Khadijah Erickson, followed by Ronald Wright.
Good evening. I have a number of things that I want to talk to you all about, but 3 minutes is definitely not enough to get it out. I want to make sure I dedicate enough time to speak about this, so I'm going to start with it at the top. I'm sure all of you are aware of the video that was taken in the CATA station of an unhoused person being, in my opinion, attacked. They were told to leave. They said, I'm going to. They stepped to move away and they're taken down. I don't understand how any of us can view the same video, and hopefully there will be other angles or more information that comes out to help us understand how we even arrive to that. But just on a very basic threat assessment, somebody who's not a security expert, but I'm just going out, I go and do outreach with the same population. I never have a weapon on me. I don't have any kind of deterrence on my person. I don't travel with knives, pepper spray, anything like that. I come with supplies and things that people need to survive. I don't ever have a reason to engage with these folks in this way, even when they are coming at me because they're upset, because they're high, because they're this, because they're that. I have never interacted with these people and felt the need to physically control them in any way. And so I just want to encourage you all to keep it at the forefront of your mind, that this is a pattern. It's not very often that Lansing Police Department is in the news for incidents such as this, but that doesn't mean that this in itself is isolated. I all the time hear about poor interactions between our unhoused neighbors and LPD. This one just happened to be caught on camera by a citizen who had no qualms about posting it online and sharing it around, and for that I thank them. That we have this level of transparency in the treatment our unhoused neighbors have continuously reported over the years. 2 minutes. I have 1 minute left to talk about everything else, to talk about how the city, every time the weather is poor in the winter, we demonstrate that we do not have a plan to address the scale of the housing and homelessness crisis that we are experiencing here. We had so much time, I think, just for this most recent Code Blue to just kind of think and consider how we might address it, how we could come together and make something happen. I had a lot of incredible information shared with me, such as that members of this administration in our HRCS department are just finding out that East Lansing just sends their people to us when their warming centers close. That is incredible. That is hard to believe that is something that they're just finding out earlier this week. That's just not possible, right? And so winter comes every year in Michigan. It doesn't change. And I'm gonna keep going.
Thank you.
It comes every year.
Thank you.
It's incumbent upon us to do what we can
Thank you. Your time
to
is up.
ensure that we're doing what is
Thank you.
The next speaker is Ronald Wright, followed by Ivan Drosty.
Khadijah, your time is up. Please make room for the next speaker. Please yield the microphone. You've been asked. Your time is up. The next speaker's here.
Hello, my name is Ronald Wright. You guys may remember me from the last meeting. I'm from Dietrich Park. I am at the Causeway Bay. And last time I was telling you how I got my first paycheck. Well, now I'm here to tell you that here in a few weeks, I'm going to also have a place to stay. It's all because of the Causeway Bay, okay? And I'm not the only one. There are other people that are there. And yes, going back to a few things that was said in the earlier meeting, it was such a rush to be able to get everybody packed up and out of that camp so fast that people left half their stuff behind because they didn't have time to be able to get it all gathered up and get it out of there. And yes, it's no longer there. So that's how people lost a lot of their possessions, a lot of what they owned and everything, was because they ended up having to leave it behind. I don't know. I had so much I wanted to say when I got up here, and now it's just all fleeting right out of my mind because I don't know how to impress anymore that this Causeway Bay thing is working. Some people are going a little bit slower. Some people are going a little faster. One thing I did want to touch on, though, is this data center concept. I find it really interesting that we're spending so much time talking about a data center, of all things. I'm trying to focus my time and my energy on getting unhoused people into housing, getting unemployed people into a job, figuring out how we're going to be able to fix all the potholes in these roads so we don't keep destroying our vehicles to the tunes of thousands of dollars. I'm trying to figure out how we can make tomorrow better than today. And there was a whole lot of time today talked about a data center. Okay, I don't get it. To me, I don't think about the data center because it's a non-issue to me. I don't want it. It's already taken too much time away from what we should be thinking about, what is the people. And Khadijah, you know I love you and everything you do, but yes, I never thought I'd see the day when the only time I ever leave without a knife or a defensive weapon anymore is when I'm coming here because the metal detector's at the front door. Other than that, I never leave without it because I've been chased from one end of this city to the other by the police. So everybody wants to talk about how ICE is treating people. Our Lansing Police Department ain't much better.
Thank you. Ivan Drosty, followed by John Warmb.
Ivan Drosty, Ward 3. Let's talk data center. I've been boots on the ground in this data center fight since that fateful day in November when the public first learned about this project. In the time since then, I've talked to just about everybody you can think about from all walks of life and every station about this project and heard a lot of arguments. And, quite frankly, a lot of them are quite poorly reasoned, in my opinion. I'm not sure that I've heard too many arguments in favor of the data center worse than the ones that we heard today at the presentation from the EDP department and EWL. That presentation that we heard earlier today at Committee of the Whole was insulting to my intelligence, and I think it was insulting to yours too. Their characterization of this area of town is completely incorrect. This is a pedestrian area, and it should be. We should lean into that. We should make it more pedestrian friendly than it is, because this is a residential area with lots of great downtown businesses and attractions. So we should continue to do that, not steer away from that. It makes no sense. I want to address just a couple arguments that I heard some of the staff during that presentation make. I believe it was Sue who said that she believed that this area was inappropriate for housing development because the traffic nearby is too fast. But then she, in the next breath, admitted that the existence of an apartment complex 1 block north had the effect of reducing traffic speeds. And she also admitted that building out buildings close to the street reduces traffic speeds, both of which are true. But it seems to me that from her own reasoning, therefore, it would be appropriate to build an apartment complex on this lot that we're proposing to build a data center, because that would reduce traffic speeds and make this more pedestrian friendly than it is. So, through her own logic, she seems to agree that we should be using this for other use cases, and that a data center is the complete inappropriate use case. Very frustrating. We also heard her say that the renders that we've seen from Deep Green are attractive. Well, perhaps Sue and I have a different definition of the word attractive, but to me that word means that it attracts, right? Well, I don't know who's going to be attracted to downtown by the existence of a data center. I'm not going to go visit downtown to visit the data center, right? Perhaps she just means that it will be aesthetically pleasing. If that's the case and she believes that, she's entitled to her opinion, but I have to say that a giant brick rectangular warehouse is not aesthetically pleasing, so I disagree. Also, real quick, we heard Dick from BWL say that, well, the data center is only going to use about as much water as a fast food restaurant. I'd like you all to please do a little bit of research as to just how much water a fast food restaurant uses. You might be surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Warm, followed by Cameron Thomas.
Hello. I just wanted to make some quick comments regarding the resolution about ICE and their masks, and agree with y'all, Councilman Cost especially, that requiring ICE to reveal their faces while they're in and conducting operations in a city, even if we had the power as a city council to enforce that, is still largely a symbolic and fairly toothless measure when our neighbors are being kidnapped, that requiring that their kidnappers reveal their faces too, when we've seen them operating boldly and without any system of accountability in Minnesota and in other places. I also want to acknowledge that y'all are correct, that the response to ICE doesn't come necessarily from a city council and from lawmakers. It comes from networks of advocates and activists that are on the ground and will be resisting these folks when they arrive in our city. But I do want to say that there are things that city council can do to limit how effective ICE would be able to operate, how effectively they would be able to operate in this city. I think something that has been mentioned and has been very successful in Minnesota is banning them from staging in public parks. That can lead to escalation. Another thing would be, of course, designating our city to be a sanctuary city. And also looking into our use of flock cameras. They're automatic license plate readers that are in operation in many parts of the city on public roadways that analyze every single license plate that drives by it and shares that information directly with ICE and other federal agencies. They're also really unsafe databases. They are super vulnerable to hacking and security risks. I don't know if there's a contract that the city has signed with the company Flock, but I would highly encourage looking into that and the way that they operate in this city. They are extremely unsafe devices to have on public roadways. They're unconstitutional and they don't make us safe. They open the door to lawsuits that the city may face when profiling does happen as a result of the surveillance that they are perpetuating and enacting. I encourage you all to be bold and creative when thinking about ICE, and I encourage everyone else in this room and who may be watching to be bold and creative when thinking about the struggles that are facing us. No human being is illegal, and cancel the contracts.
Thank you. Next is Cameron Thomas, followed by Morgan Doherty.
All right, I put on real pants to come here, so it's serious. It's a joke. So my name is Cameron Thomas. I'm a Lansing resident, a homeowner, a city income taxpayer, an MSU alumnus, a social worker, and most importantly, an uncle to 2 young Lansing residents for whom I stand here in protest today. I live less than a mile from the proposed site of the data center. I'm deeply concerned that this center put profit over people. I'm deeply troubled by the energy use and environmental risks inherent with all data centers. I'm curious what guarantees can be made to my nibblings that their home not be irreparably harmed by these centers. If there's no guarantees, why risk the well-being of children who will inherit the consequences of your decisions? People over profits. I do not support this data center. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Morgan Doherty, followed by Mercury Rose.
Hello, Morgan Doherty. I'm a Ward 1 resident. I'm an Everett alumnus. I've lived in Lansing for over 40 years. I grew up about 1.5 miles south of the proposed data center site, and for the past 20 years, I've lived about 2 miles to the east. I need the council to know that as a sustainability scholar and as a neighbor, this data center, any data center, is going to be bad for Lansing. It would be great if my notes would come back up. Nope. I almost forgot to come in tonight. I thought I was too late. I was home in my pajamas. I saw a friend post in a group chat that I wasn't too late to get here. And I care too much about this proposal for too many reasons to go into within the span of 3 minutes, but I'll just name briefly the social and political dangers of AI, the foolishness of investing in an obvious tech bubble, and the catastrophic harm being done to the environment in the name of economic progress. I did get off the couch tonight, though, because I live here. I don't live in the neighborhood that this data center is going to take up. I have friends who do. I need to drive by it. I don't want to see it in my neighborhood. I don't want to see my neighbor's well-being threatened by the facility. I don't want to pass by it on the way to the library. And I don't want to wait to find out what the true cost is going to be. The data center is going to hurt the city, and we should all oppose it.
Thank you. Next and finally is Mercury Rose.
Hi, my name's Mercury Rose, they, them pronouns. I live in the city of Lansing and have for over a decade, and I hope it will be my home for the rest of my life. I love it here. And 3 minutes isn't a lot of time, but I think there's an overarching connecting concern that I have, and I just want to start with gratitude for all of you being here and caring. And I know some of you have been going out into the community and holding those meetings for us to hear about our concerns and talk to you about it. And I really appreciate that, and thank you. And my call to action for all of you is to connect more deeply with your empathy and connect more deeply with your curiosity. A lot of what I've heard people speak out tonight about being concerned is wanting us to put people over profit and wanting us to show up for our community members in a way that is meaningful and actually alleviates their suffering. And that's what I want to see for my neighbors. I really love the people here, and I think that you're sitting up there because you also really love the people here. I really, really believe that. And I think because you believe that, you want to be part of the city and uphold that mission that asks us to create a healthy, caring environment. I had it pulled up, but I lost the page for what our mission, but that first bullet point is talking about how we make a vibrant community, and people are listed first. And that's why I'm here. That's what's important, right? And I think that this data center does not put people first. It threatens the river that I swim in and like to fish from. It threatens the noise and safety of the people living around it. It is not going to create a healthier environment. I'm concerned about the health and well-being of the people who are unhoused, which could be me, right? I have a full-time job, but how many months away from one accident am I from being unhoused? And how is the city gonna catch me, the city that I love so much, right? So how can you help make for sure that those is extended for people to stay in the hotel and that they have a real place to land afterward, right? Housing first is what's evidence-based. Why aren't we doing that here? And I think it's because we're not imagining big enough, right? Can we imagine bigger how we can do things and get creative to make it safer when ICE shows up here in the violent way that it's showing up in other cities? I know they're already here, but I'm worried it's gonna get worse, right? The threat is coming from us from so many sides, and we have to get more brave, more courageous, and more curious about our fellow humans. And I know some of you are doing that, but I think we all have the capacity to keep getting curious and keep loving each other more deeply. And that means asking ourselves, why are people not going to the warming centers? Because they don't want to leave their stuff behind. Because cold blue is only going to last when it's really, really cold. But it's still freaking cold for 3 more months here, right? Not cold blue cold, but not survivable without a tent if you leave it behind to go to that warming center, right? So are those really solutions?
Thank you. That was our final speaker.
Thank you, and at 10:19, we are adjourned.